You know, it's a strong one that I really talk about a lot is you can gain so much out of being a teacher of these topics.
Of course,
and sometimes you actually gain even more. So whatever you're doing in your craft, whatever it is, and if you're an employee or whatever you're doing, try and put yourself in a perspective to maybe train others, because you actually can gain so much of that technique, that skill, that experience yourself by training other people. You know, I heard a tennis coach said to me once, and it will stay true to me all the time: if you want to become a better tennis player, coach other people. So even if you don't have the skills and experience enough to do it, train other people and you'll remember those techniques time and time again. Hit the ball the same way.
So you'll reinforce the learning, but you also feel good. I mean, as a society, we love to help people. You know, it feels good. I can tell you that's why I do what I do.
Are we built that way to help other people? Is this the sole purpose of human being?
I believe so. I believe if you've got a whole lot of knowledge, help other people. Help other people up. You know, not everyone is in a fortunate position as we are, and so if you can help other people, I think it's an amazing quality.
Let's go back to trusting the process, Tony. Why don't you talk about some of the clients that you're dealing with? Obviously, not naming names, but really getting to a different perspective, because stories really help other people understand what others are going through, might help them, you know, with their perspectives on what's going on with themselves.
Yeah, well, it comes down to the belief. I was sharing an example of one of the students who's just had recent success, and this student was, he started off great, started off in the program. It reminds me of New Year's Day. You know, we always start off New Year's Day and we're going to, you know, lose the weight and conquer the world and all these sorts of things. And then what happens in week 2, 3 or 4 of January? It all falls to shit. And it falls to shit because we start to, sorry, we can edit that out. We love it. We start to lose the faith, lose the belief. We go for a few weeks and we go, oh, this is not working. This is not working anymore. I wasn't as motivated as I once was. And this particular student, they've gone through the ebbs and the flows. And a couple of months ago, it just clicked. It just clicked from the point of view, it's like, you know what? I've got to do this. And in that 2 months, that student was able to then move forward, had the belief that, you know what? I can do this. I can do this. And put behind them all the stuff where they weren't having success, because how does that benefit them? It's like, I just need to keep moving forward, and he kept moving forward and having small wins become bigger wins. It became this positive snowball effect, and then he gets himself a deal, and now you know, he now believes that it can happen. The other great thing, Luke, around having a group coaching, we had about 20 odd students in there, so there was some who had success and some who didn't. For those who didn't, they're doing a great job, but it's all about proving that it's possible. It's possible. They're around people who started a program in the group, at the same time as them. And what I love about the group coaching is that there'll be people who are up and people who are down. And the people who are up, I don't have to inspire other people, although I try to, but I don't have to inspire other people. They can get inspired by their peers. Someone's up, and then conversely, you might then come to the next month, and the person who was up was down, and the person who was down was up. And they can help each other. That's what I love.
Interesting psychology. Before I get to that point, Amy said that she teaches people to fly, and she's become a better pilot. So that philosophy is so true for her as well. So
beautiful.
So many areas of life. That's a really good message for everyone. If you want to become better at your craft, teach other people to do it. So you will actually find that you'll learn so much more yourself than probably the people you're teaching. Tony, back on that thought process of some doing well, some not doing well in a particular month, and that sort of changing and becoming vice versa. What do you think is the psychology behind that, in terms of people either being motivated by other people's success or actually jealous and kind of dwell on the fact that they're not actually doing any good themselves?
Yeah, so there's a little bit of comparing themselves to others. Now, I don't encourage people to compare themselves to others from a point of view that everyone's story is different, Luke. So, you know, someone who might have been up 1 month and down the next, we don't know what's going on. I mean, there could be a family issue going on. There could be a business problem going on, you know, whatever. There's a whole range of reasons why. But yeah, a little bit of it is, hey, inspiration. But the other is, bloody hell, if they're doing it, shit, I better, you know, pull my socks up, pull my socks up, and I can do it, and I can do it. You know, and they think back, well, they started in the course on the same day that the other person did. And if that person's been taught the same things, and one person's just run with it and one person hasn't. So they go, well, I'm going to either be inspired or be motivated or feel jealous. Either way, it helps them move forward. But I would encourage people, don't compare yourself, right? So it's great to be in the group setting, but don't compare yourself, because you don't know their story. Your story is not identical to their story.
Completely different. Completely different. And it's really interesting, because this is a question that I get all the time. You know, I've got a property portfolio of 30, and people are like, well, how did you do it? They're thinking, and when you hear that question, you kind of immediately think, and maybe I'm judging the question a little bit, but immediately think, I just sense that they're going, well, I need to compare myself to you straight away. So look, I don't know if you've had that same sort of experience about what you've done. You know, you've moved out of your 9-to-5 job, getting into property development and coaching as well. And, you know, then you hear people constantly looking to compare themselves to you. And if they don't get to what you've done, then they struggle through it.
Oh, look, the thing that really annoys me, Luke, is the people who say, oh, gee, you're so lucky. Gee, you're so lucky. And it
doesn't annoy me. I go, you make your own luck. I love this.
It rolls me up. I've got the neighbours having a look. I'm on the front deck, and they're loving it out here in Brisbane. Hello. It annoys me. I'll tell you what annoys me, because they don't know my story. And my story is that I got up at 4 a.m. for almost 2 years to do this. So, you know what, if you go, hey, and it's like, you know what, I relate it to our sporting stars. We see our sporting stars on the weekend, and we cheer them on, whatever sport it is. You don't see the blood, sweat and tears that they go through day in, day out. And
for 20 years.
For 20 years. And it's, for me, it was up at 4 a.m., you know, doing my business, then having a day job, sacrificing time with family, a whole range of things. So don't say to me that I'm lucky, because it really does annoy me.
I just feel sorry for them, Tony. I feel sorry for them.
But here's, again, this comes back to trust the process, that you too, right? You talk about blueprints. Go and do what I did. If you go and do what I did, then there's no guarantee, but boy, oh boy, you give yourself every chance of success, right? And so for you,
might have a different success, that's all.
Great, but I reckon you'll be moving your life forward, right? So you mightn't have the same success, but your life will be moving forward in whichever direction you want. Going back to your question around, well, how do I get 30 properties like you? My advice would be buy one. That's it. Buy
simple.
One. Buy one. You know, the old Chinese proverb, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, right? And so in order to get 30, I've got to start with one. And focus on what's in front of you. That is one. Yeah, great, you can have 30, but let's just get one for now. And let's get that sorted.
What do we think so much in advance? What do we think about that 30 properties? Why aren't we thinking about that first step? Or why aren't a lot of people thinking about that first step, Tony?
Because they haven't gone and broken down the steps, because it sounds glamorous to have 30 properties, and I want that, and I want to, you know, go around to town, and I want to just live my life as I can and live off the rental income and blah, 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 as opposed to breaking it down and going, well, in order to get 30, I've got to start with one. And when I get one, then I reassess and I get a second. And mate, that's how you started. You didn't go and buy 30 properties. You bought one, right? You bought one, and I've heard your story, and it took a long time for you to go from the first to second. That's how it works. But here's the thing, right? When you start to go from the first to second, second to third, that time frame becomes shorter. And there's this thing called momentum. And I touched on it last week around, you know, the strongman challenge around, you know, getting momentum. No different. It takes a long time to get the first one together, but you get the first one in investing, and you're on the ladder. You're on the ladder. And then it's about working hard to get your second, then your third, then your fourth, and this thing just becomes a positive snowball, right? But you've just got to start with one.
Look, it took me 10 years to get my second one. I think it was actually 9 or 10 years. So look, I didn't know the early process about what I was doing or where I was going with it. I realized a lot through, you know, and these are our own personal journeys that we're talking about, everyone that's listening, and hopefully it helps you think about the process that you're going through and what's your first step that you have to make. But it was never a thought process for me ever to get a property portfolio of 30 properties, but my motivator was to get out of my 9-to-5 job. And I saw, you know, many people, you know, the big statement that really comes to me was 90% of millionaires make their money through property. And that was the big focus for me to go, okay, there's something in this. How do I do it differently than I did before? Because I made massive mistakes in my first property. So that really what drove and motivate. I guess people Tony, they've got to find out about what really motivates them and really dive deep and find out how much they're motivated by that thing to experience in their life.
Two words, Luke. Gary says it all the time. Self-awareness. self-awareness. You have to, not only, I said it last week, you don't only want to ask yourself, and I apologize, I've got a plane overhead, so I'm not sure if you can hear that.
Oh, good.
You want to ask yourself, what do you want? But the other question is, what are you going to sacrifice? So, you could sit here and say all the things that you sacrificed in order to get to the 30 properties, right? And for me, to put myself where I am, what people don't know about me is that I had a number of buy and hold properties that were disastrous. Mate, I had an ice cream cafe that was disastrous. I lost $100,000 in 9 months.
You gained 100 kilos.
Mate, I tell you what, I had the snout in the trough, right? So that's why I lost. That's why, but it was more than that. But I mean, you know my love for ice cream, right? But my point is that I've had so many failures in my life that have put me into the spot where I am today. I was talking to someone last night, actually, at the property developer meetup, how my wife and I bought a couple of properties early on, and because of the market in Brisbane, those properties went up in value significantly. There was nothing that I did, right? And my wife and I got ahead of ourselves. We got very arrogant. We got very egotistical. Perhaps I did. And, mate, there was this thing called the GFC, and it gave us one hell of a reminder that we aren't as good as what we are. And so I actually said last night, I'm pleased that I had that experience, because that experience has shaped me to be the person I am today. Because had I have not had that experience, then, mate, I'm not sure I'd be way ahead of myself, and I wouldn't be the person I am today.